So, a bit about me. My name is Ian George. I'm a self-awareness and empowerment coach. Um, I'm also someone who's been through anxiety, depression, all sorts of things like that myself, also a young parent. Um, I am the owner of Productive Inspiration, which is my business. Now, the reason why I found this name, as it were, when I was in a bad place, I realized that being productive in a certain direction helped me to be inspired by myself. Okay. A lot of us, when we are stressed out, we keep on looking for answers, which is fine. There's nothing wrong with that. As girls, I'll encourage that. But we're not taking much notice about ourselves and our own actions in order for us to be our own inspiration. And we have to be productive to end up achieving that. So that's where the name came from. Okay, so today we'll be talking about healthy accountability. And once I say about the healthy accountability, we'll talk a bit about the generalized anxiety and dealing with it at work. Okay, so healthy accountability. Now, the word accountability gets thrown around all the time nowadays. And speaking from experience, when I was in a bad place, the word accountability triggered me. It was a bit overwhelming for me. So this is the reason why I come out with healthy accountability. This is what I teach. Now, healthy accountability, well, there's three things that involve healthy accountability. And that is, sorry, and that's what works, what doesn't work, and what needs work. Okay. Now, let's talk a bit about what works. Believe it or not, even in your darkest time, there is something you are doing right. I know it's weird to say, now trust me, like I've been through anxiety and depression and things. I can definitely get why people end up thinking that everything they do is wrong. But what it is, that our brain goes into fix me mode. Now, the problem with fix me mode, now it's a good thing. That's the reason why the human civilization has lasted as long as it has. But the bad thing about it is, because we're constantly in fix me mode, we're not actually taking any notice of the things we're doing right. So it's down to us to figure out what are the things that we are actually doing right. A lot of the things we need to change, it only involves a few tweaks. It hardly ever needs to be completely restarted. Okay, so it's about what works. Now, what doesn't work, now obviously in the workplace, this kind of reaction to a problem isn't going to benefit you. It's not going to benefit your job. It's not going to benefit anything. This sort of action does not work. It just ends up escalating the situation. It could end up triggering you, end up making you become something that you're not and you never was. So so things like this does not work. Certain things just need to be scrapped. Okay. And what needs work, sometimes we need to nurture ourselves. Okay, now the example I've used, if you guys know me, like I've used this example a few times. Now there was this situation where me and my son was arguing quite a bit, right? Now I would say to him, I'm proud of him for what he does. Now that works. I'm not saying it's a lie. I definitely am, but it works. But now when I say to him, I'm proud of him, I come out with reasons why I am. So like I've said to him before, I'm really proud of you because when you was younger, you wouldn't be able to do the things you do now. You was really scared about doing certain things. Look at you now, you got a job, you got this, you got that. Now that made it a lot better. Does that make sense? Because now my son knows I'm not just being the dad that's just saying it just because I'm the dad. That's not the case. Now, when it comes in regards to our work life, sometimes when we are triggered about everything at work, sometimes we just need to work on our triggers. It doesn't necessarily mean that there's something wrong with us or anything like that. Some certain things we are getting by, but all it needs is a little bit of tweaking in order for it to become magic. Does that make sense? So we have to be accountable for that. Now, this is the reason why this is healthy accountability, because if you notice from the 3 steps I told you, 2 of them is concentrating about the things you do right and the things that you're going to do about it. Normally, when we think about accountability, we think about all the things that we're doing wrong and what we're going to do to fix them. That's not healthy, especially when you've got anxiety. Okay. So yeah, so that is what I'm covering in regards to healthy accountability. That's a quick one, but I want to get more into the generalized anxiety. Okay. So generalized anxiety. Now, for you who don't know, generalized anxiety disorder is a psychological disorder that is characterized by excessive and persistent worries about different things. Now, according to Anxiety Disorder Association of America, 1 in 4 employees experience persistent anxiety, like basically around this, the whole situation, the responsibilities, getting along with other people in the workplace, all types of things that involve responsibilities and excessive work. Okay, it triggers a lot of people's anxiety. Now it says 1 in 4, but I think we can all agree, especially after lockdown and COVID, them numbers are probably a little bit higher now. Do you know what I mean? So this is the reason why I wanted to talk about generalized anxiety, because even if you're not diagnosed as having generalized anxiety disorder, we all have a bit of it, especially after this. Okay, so don't worry about the labels. I'm just trying to help you move forward in what it is that you can do about it. Okay, so first thing, now you need to identify your compromising triggers, right? Now this is very important, incredibly important. Now the reason being is because not everything that triggers us has a huge compromising effect on us. Some things can actually be handled a bit later, but it's important for us to identify those compromising triggers that is stopping us from us able to get work done in order to be our better selves. And does that make sense? Now, this is why journaling is great for that. Okay. Now, what I would suggest, break the journaling into 3 bits. Okay. So that's your thoughts. You need to be aware of your destructive thoughts that brings on the triggering. Okay. Because it always starts with a story. Now, any of you that's been through anxiety, I'm sure you can agree. Now, if you end up getting worried about something happening, you've got a whole story, like catastrophe of a story in your head before the anxiety actually takes place. So if you're in a workplace, you're not thinking, oh, I need to get this done on time, because if I don't, I could lose my job. I can end up doing this. Now, what if I haven't got any money? Then I can't take care of my kids. I can't. All of this happens in a split second in our minds, right? Now, from that, once that happens, then our actions get put into place, which is what I want you to cover as well. You need to write down your actions when you are triggered. Now, even though a lot of people say anxiety is fear-based, yes, but fear isn't always done with being in a corner shaking or crying. It could be done with shouting, anger, like physical. You can end up grabbing someone, like ready to fight them. All of these can actually stem from fear. It doesn't necessarily come from one way of doing it. So it's important to write down your actions of how you react when your anxiety takes place and you get triggered. Okay. And the other section I'd like to cover is how you feel afterwards. Now, this is the thing about generalized anxiety. Us keep on persisting the same action ends up getting us into toxic sort of behaviors. And if any users have been triggered or anything like that, once you calm down, you end up feeling a bit silly about the fact that you've done that. Now, the more we end up feeling silly, end up getting on our shoulders about it, believe it or not, it ends up creating a sort of wall to end up making what's the word I'm thinking of? To make change harder to accomplish. All right. So the more think about it, so the more you're not feeling terrible about yourself, the more it will back onto your story of your thoughts that create the trigger. So it's like, oh, I obviously can't be reliable because I always have to shout at people when I'm angry. Now, the more you're doing that, this is adding to your story. This is actually adding to your story that will create the trigger in order for you to get angry. Does that make sense? So when you start journaling, put it down in them 3 categories, okay? So your thoughts, your actions, and how you feel after. Now, now we have to concentrate on this because this will give us be able to measure it a bit on which way we're going, okay? So identify your unrealistic expectations and the things you cannot change. Now, we have all done this. We all have unrealistic expectations of ourselves. Now, the one that is most common, in my opinion, and I've done it before, we end up getting on our shoulders about things that isn't humanly possible to change. So, like, for example, did you know that the mind actually isn't capable of not thinking about something you tell it not to think, right? So I'll give you an example and I'll prove it to you. So I would like you to picture an elephant, big elephant, and it's stroking a dog, a little puppy, with its trunk, okay? Now you're picturing it in your mind. Right, now stop thinking about it. It's still there. Even if it was there for a second or two or even a minute, it's still there. Your brain does not work like that. That is the reason why a lot of therapists and other people say about shifting your attention, because our brain does not differentiate. It doesn't say bad and good. It just takes in the information. That is the reason why when we are having anxiety attack or something, like we're like, oh, I'm stupid. What? I need to stop thinking these thoughts. I'm this, I'm that, I'm going mad, I'm this. All these things you are putting on your shoulders, and you are basically hating yourself for what you are humanly capable of doing. Our minds don't work like that. That is the reason why we shift it. Does that make sense? So identify your unrealistic expectations of yourself and the world around you. Okay. And you need to definitely identify the things you cannot change. So within the workplace, that could be other people's attitudes. Other people's attitudes towards you, say that they're rude or a certain way or anything like that. You can't change that. So you have to learn how to accept certain things. And that acceptance doesn't mean it's okay, but accepting something is the first step in order to overcoming it and being able to navigate around it. So the analogy I use is two animals. So let's say that you're a tiger, and this person that's being horrible is an elephant. No matter how much you shout and roar at that elephant to become a tiger, that's not going to magically become a tiger. You need to accept it is an elephant. It is what it is. So if you know that someone, for example, someone in your workplace is just, say they've just got an attitude problem, they've got problems at home and stuff like that, try to avoid them. Try to avoid, don't even talk to them. Or maybe your boss gets triggered when they feel like work isn't getting done, or things like that. Like, in order for you to know how that person is, it helps you be able to protect yourself the best way you can. Okay. So try and not get so stressed that the person exists, that they're rude, they're this, they're that. Try not to get so bogged down by that. They are who they are, and they are going to exist. Now, what you need to do is nurture yourself and protect yourself the best way you can in order to be able to navigate around that person, to keep your mental health in check. Okay, so make sure you identify those things. Now, develop relaxation techniques. Now, this a lot of people, there's all types of things. There's breathing exercises, meditation is a good one. Talking from someone that's gone through mental health and things myself, I'm not just going to come out with the data. I'm just going to come about the feeling that it gave me. Okay. Now, exercise is one of them things that ends up putting you in a position where you have to be resilient. You are actually in a situation where you are tired, you hate, you're like, oh, I can't do this, I can't do it, but you keep going anyway. Does that make sense? So when you keep going, believe it or not, that's resilience. That is resilience training. So then the more you end up doing it, you realize you're running further than you did before. You're lifting weights like more than you did when you started. That's resilience. That is how resilience is, even if you're not in the gym. It's about being in a situation that helps you become stronger, right? So the more you end up doing certain things like that, you end up developing a relaxation in taking part in some of them things. Okay, so now exercise to you might be a way to release all that bad energy, all that bad adrenaline, and that's in you from the triggering and everything else. Meditation is being proven many times. Breathing exercises help anxiety a lot. Even if you look at a smoker, I know they say nicotine takes a place, yes, but even when you see them take a pull of the cigarette, they're still doing that sort of breathing. We take it for granted so much, but it's very important in order to help us calm down. Okay, and that's what's helped me. Hanging out with friends. Sometimes a good chat relaxes you. It doesn't have to be that complicated. Sometimes it's just simply just talking to someone who actually cares about your good, cares about your growth and your place in the world. Sometimes that helps a lot, and it relaxes us. Music was definitely a big one for me. listening to music that I used to listen to when I used to go out clubbing and stuff like that, that actually helped lift my spirits, you know. No matter what was going on, I would listen to a song and it brings me back to that moment when I was more happy and stuff, and it just puts a smile on my face. Okay. So there's many things that you can actually use in order to make you develop a relaxation technique for yourself that works. Okay. You just need to be patient and you need to take the steps. Okay. Now, once you found it, go back to step one. When I said about breaking the journal in 3 parts, do that with this, because then you will know how it will make you feel after you do it, the action you actually did, and the story that you told yourself while doing it. Okay. You need to take note of how you felt when you were in a good place, when you overcome these things. You need to put that in your journal, because if you know what it looks like, you know which direction you're going in. Okay. Right. So make a routine. Once you have tested out the relaxation techniques, the journaling and everything else, you should have a basic idea of what works, what doesn't work, and what needs work. With the same with the healthy accountability. So that's when it's your turn to make a routine out of it in order to help yourself feel good most of the days. So, and make it your morning routine. Even if your morning routine is wake up, wake up, watch a motivational video, or maybe you end up listening to music that ends up making you feel good. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, just listen to the music, have your shower, have something to eat, and all right, I'm ready. Like, that's what you need. That's what you need to be able to deal with anxiety and stuff. Because the thing is about anxiety, everyone is trying to delete it. The thing is, problems are problems. Life is like that. Anxiety needs to be nurtured. Okay. Stop treating it as an enemy. It needs to be nurtured in order for you to help your mind work for you again. Okay. Instead of against you. Right. And one of the most important things, set boundaries. Okay. There has to be a boundary, because at the end of the day, now I hope you can agree with this, especially when you're in the workplace. There's work time, there's home time, and then there's playtime. You need to know the difference. Okay. If you're taking all your work home, your stress is coming with you. Okay. There needs to be a time when it's just you. You need time to recharge. If you don't get the time to recharge, how can you function? Our cars need MOT. We need, in order for it to function, for us to keep going where we're going, we need time to recharge. Now, the reason why I say playtime, because you have to have a time to do something fun for you. You have to, because if it's just work, how does life look to you? If it's constantly stress, constantly anguish, constantly not sure about where you stand in the world, if you're going to lose your job tomorrow, if you're not actually appreciating the beautiful things on this planet, and it's just work to you, that's going to stress anyone out. Even if someone says they haven't got anxiety, eventually they will, if they do not create healthy boundaries. Okay, so definitely focus on that. Okay, so that is my presentation, a quick one. Yeah, so if you want any actual help in this, it isn't live yet, but I've made a program to help people that's generalized anxiety, help them come up with certain strategies. And similar to this, what I spoke about, but it's helping you to create a healthy routine in order for your mind not to be your worst enemy. It is a part of you. It's this program will help you become one. Okay. Now, there is a few conditions. If you're one of them people that just, you're fed up of being fed up, right? You're fed up of people looking at you, or at least you think they're looking at you like you're a liability because of your anxiety. You want to take control back into your life, in a sense where you're not always scared of getting things wrong all the time, right? But you also have to be committed. You have to be willing to make the steps. and I'll be with you every step of the way. This isn't one of them programs where it's sort of like, well, I just give it to you and just go about my day. I will help you the best way I can. Okay, so if that sounds like you, you can message me and find me. So my website is www.productiveinspiration.co.uk, and my email is productiveinspiration@gmail.com. These are my social medias. You can find me all these different places. If you are interested, or if you just want to reach out to me, email me or find me on social media. Just send me a message. That's all good. You can look on my website and just subscribe, and then that way I can keep you up to date about any upcoming programs or whatnot. But yeah, thank you for listening. So yeah, this is me. So let me just stop. Let me stop the share now. So